Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Chris, for the very nice introduction, and it's a privilege to be here at the RHA, and thank you very much for inviting me to speak. I'm from DP World, and many people may not know what DP World is, apart from sponsoring the European Golf and being a sponsor for McLaren Formula One. We operate 2 deep-sea container terminals at Southampton and at London Gateway, and we're covering about just over 50% of all the containers into and out of the UK coming through our ports. That's 4,500 trucks a day, and it's about 40 trains a day coming into and out of the port, so quite a significant position. I think the previous speaker explained that sustainability is a very wide subject, and it is. DP World has got a very wide policy covering things like modern slavery, nature, the oceans, but I'm going to talk today about carbon. Why? Well, I'm not a sustainability expert. I'm previously in a commercial role, and the reason why we're talking about carbon is that our customers are asking us about it, and it's something that we've kind of fallen into to do this. So just some context, there's about 60 billion tons of CO2 going into the atmosphere. We're on the 2nd floor. This chart goes up to the 4th floor. Okay, so that's the total emissions. If you take the emissions from international supply chains, that's about 11 or 12% of total emissions back in 2023, where these numbers came from. If you look at what's coming from shipping, it's quite a small amount. It's 2 or 3%. It's quite efficient as a kind of ton-kilometre carrier as we're shipping goods around the world. And the wider transport, logistics, warehousing, recycling, all of that is another proportion, about 8 or 9%, and the port industry itself is quite small. However, we have quite an important point to try and solve our customers' problems. So what are our customers' problems? Well, many of our customers have a decarbonisation strategy that looks a bit like this. They've got a baseline for a year, sort of 2017, 2018, which is they've done a mapping and they've done their Scope 1, which is what they burn and what they use in their production, Scope 2, their electric, and Scope 3, their supply chain emissions, and they've got a total. And they've also got a destination target that they're aiming for. They've also got a sub-target in 2030, and that's now only 4 years away, 4 iterations away. And the good news is they've done very well in their first years, and they've managed to reduce their Scope 1 and 2 emissions by changing the light bulbs and getting green electric tariffs in by 50%. Woohoo! But if you're a UK retailer, 90% of your supply chain emissions are in Scope 3 and very difficult to address. So the challenge is they've got a clear roadmap for 1 and 2, and they've got an emerging result to do Scope 3, and they're going to have to work across industry partners, across the road transport industry, across the port industry, shipping industry, to try and address this. And this is a challenge. So we're trying to come up with some pragmatic solutions to address this challenge. Are people prepared to pay for it? Well, surveys are beginning to say that the young people are more prepared to pay for it, or that's what they say in a survey. Actual behavior may be slightly different. But if you're further away from the customer, it's more difficult because you're not negotiating with the customer. You're negotiating with a freight forwarder or a consolidator of a freight forwarder or of a supplier of a supplier of a supplier that's going into the final customer. So low carbon choices are emerging, and the challenge we've got is how do we make sustainability economically sustainable? So in the port, don't think of the port as just linking dry with wet. We're a change of economic in the supply chain, an economic position in the supply chain. We're a change of legal position in the supply chain, and we're a physical change in the supply chain, linking to all those trucks for imports and exports. And we've also got many different players here. Now, at the ports, we have a very privileged position because we're a kind of consolidator of demand. We've got more than 50% share of some of these flows, and that gives us a lot of responsibility to try and do the things and offer customers lower carbon choices. So I get very excited about this because this is an import journey, and there's lots of imports in the UK. Basically, you've got the shipping lines running their ships. That's their Scope 1 and 2 emissions. You've got us lifting things up and down on and off the ships. Those are our Scope 1 and 2 emissions. And you've got you guys delivering this without without the access to road transport, we're irrelevant as a port because we can't access our hinterland, and that's your Scope 1 and 2 emissions. But it's the final customer's Scope 3 supply chain emissions. And that's really important because people are now starting to have some kind of interest in this. So what are we doing about it? Simply saying, in our ports, we are decarbonising. We are trying to look at electrifying, we're trying to look at using HVO, we're looking at many different things in terms of efficiency. Interesting, London Gateway, we have some challenges. Southampton, we are now running at operational net zero. Some of you will have heard about the modal shift programme. I will mention this briefly because it gives an indication of how incentives can work. We put a small incentive for containers to actually go by rail, and if it goes by rail from Southampton within 140 miles of the port, we pay an incentive of £70. Okay? Since incentivizing that, we've seen 125,000 truck trips move from truck to rail-truck combination. We've seen 30,000 tons of CO2 move and be removed from the supply chain, and something like 10 million truck miles removed through an incentive. So that's what we've done. We've also done a carbon inset program. I won't go into details on this, but this is a way of giving those CO2 attributes to customers who are more prepared to value those attributes. And I suggest you go to our website to check those out. We have sold 200,000 containers worth of carbon inset credits since we introduced them at the start of the year. This was a trial. This has been a big success, and we're trying to build on that further. But I'm not here today to talk about those. I want to talk about our low carbon truck program. Because in this service map that you've got here, the haulage company, who's our bread and butter, who's picking up those containers every day, has not benefited from any of these programs so far. So we've decided to do something about it. From the 1st of September, any truck that comes into DP World ports at Southampton or London Gateway more than 90 times in a 3-month period, in a 90-day period, will earn 5,000 litres or up to 5,000 litres of HVO fuel for the price of diesel. If you take that fuel at the tank and have it as a bulk delivery, you earn 5,000 litres per truck, by qualifying truck. And if you take it at the pump, you'll earn 3,000 litres of HVO for the price of diesel. You pay the fuel supplier directly for the diesel price, and we will cover the cost of the HVO premium. Now, what is HVO? HVO is hydrotreated vegetable oil. I think most of the room here knows something about this fuel. I have to say, I'm always learning. It's important that we responsibly source this. It does come with some considerations, and it is an intermediate fuel. But the idea is to get us from diesel, somehow, as we heard from our previous speaker, to get up to a lower carbon solution. And maybe there's an intermediate position as a stepping stone to get there. And that's where we are with this approach. Any trucking company would be limited to 10 trucks or 50,000 litres at either port. So maximum you can earn is 100,000 litres in the quarter. And we will run this every quarter for the next 2 years. It's a trial. We may have to move some of the parameters as we're doing this. So we talked about the qualification. In order to qualify as well, we're asking that those people who want to register, and thank you, by the way, to the 48 container haulage companies who have already pre-registered for this trial. So thank you very much for doing that, and we would invite others to do that. As part of this program, in order to qualify, we're also asking that at least one member of your haulage company attends a 1-day carbon literacy program training so that we can understand a little bit more about the science. Why is it important? What is global warming? What is carbon? What are the parts per million? What is the impact? What is Scope 1? What is Scope 2? What the hell is Scope 3? How can I use a lower carbon fuel, such as HVO, which is over 85% less carbon than diesel, how can I use that towards my customers in order to, A, secure more business, B, maybe get a margin on my job? That's tricky. So that's something which we'd like to encourage. We're capping it at 3 per firm, but of course we'll see how that goes. We believe that, our data shows that of those 4,000 trucks that are coming on a daily basis, about a third of all those visits will qualify for this program. So it's not a gimmick. It's not going to just 1 or 2 operators that are favored and coming through. It's a third. We think between 500 and 700 individual trucks will qualify for this program. And if they do qualify and register, and they do draw down the fuel, we will be in the range of around, have I got the number here? 30,000 tons of CO2 per year saved with a pragmatic and immediate solution available from the first, or available now for qualification, but available from the 1st of January to draw down. I would invite you, we've got a booth in the room. In your booklets, there's a page with a QR code if you would like to register. And we're after the container hauliers who may want to explore with us to see if this makes a difference. And let's see, we'll see. We are on the path to electric in some places, and we are trialing electric. We're also trialing biomethane and HVO as well. And we do have electric vehicles on trial. A very small number because we're running about 60 vehicles for a contract logistics contract in the UK, in the Midlands. And we're learning. And there are issues with doing this. But by taking an intermediate step to get to the HVO, that at least gives us a chance to learn and start learning about how to operate with lower carbon fleets. We're also doing a few other things here, looking at frozen cargo. Does it have to go at -18? Can it go at 15? That's a global program. But I want to mention one very, very important thing. I said at the start, I'm commercial. We will be funding this through something called an energy transition contribution. And we are already funding the carbon inset program, Operation Net Zero, and modal shift not quite, but we're already funding it with the energy transition contribution. And the energy transition contribution is a levy. It's currently around £15, and we charge it on every single import laden box that comes through London Gateway and Southampton. And we charge it to the customs agent. And the customs agent also has to do a lot of customs work. They also often have to pay the ocean freight. And the ocean freight from China 3 or 4 years ago was $24,000 a box. This year, it's about $3,000 or $4,000 a box, coming down to maybe 2, 3 at the moment with some pressure on the rates. So this charge is a significant charge. £15 on every container is quite a lot. But when you take it into consideration compared to the ocean freight, it becomes a rounding error. And that's how we're funding this. But we can only fund this if we prove in the longer term and the medium term that we are making a difference. In order to pay for this and in order to pay for some of these other things, we will be increasing that energy transition contribution from the 1st of January, and it's going to get up towards £30 a box. That will happen. But hopefully we can also say that we've got 500-600 trucks now on its route to a pragmatic route to net zero, providing learning opportunities for the industry for us to do this together, and us exploring ways, pragmatic ways that we can do today to try and grab hold of this and look at solutions which work for you and don't discriminate in terms of cost. We've got 2 oil partners at the moment who draw down this oil, this HVO at the pump or at the tank, and we are talking to other providers as well. So at the moment it's Certas Energy and New Era Fuels, who are the 2 providers, and we're talking to other providers to affiliate into this program as well, and hopefully we'll be able to give news in that space. This is not perfect. When we've done some of these other things, they're trials. We've had to tune them. We've had to fine-tune them. But it's been a long time since we've been able to do something positive to try and make this transition easier for our haulage supply chain partners. And as I said, without efficient haulage providers, we are irrelevant as a container port because we can't get the goods to our customers in the UK hinterland or the exports out of the hinterland. And I'd like to say, on that note, please join us and sign up for some fun. Thank you very much indeed.